Okay, I want to know who in this room came to this conference, convention, thank you. Came to the convention via an automobile, whether it was to get to the airport or it was to get literally to this convention. I would say 99% of you. Yeah. All right. How many of you came in your grandmother's car?
Well, she's a grandmother.
No one?
What if you're a grandmother?
No. Your grandmother's car. Okay. The point is,
His grandmother.
times have changed. Am I not right? How many of us are still doing things as our grandmothers did? We don't cook the same way our grandmothers
No, I
did.
didn't.
We don't travel the same way our grandmothers did. So why are we treating our clubs like our grandmothers did? Am I right? So that's what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about change and changing our club culture. In preparing for this, I thought, there are 1,000 excuses. And here's 50 of them. But what are the most common excuses we hear about change? Give me a reason. We've always done it that way. Heaven forbid that we might do it differently. What's another one?
It'll never work.
It won't work. We can't do it. It won't work.
We tried it once and it didn't work.
Yes. Now, who knows how long ago that was, right?
Are you saying something's wrong with what I'm doing?
There you go. Well, I don't have time for change. I don't have time to make a change.
I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how to do
You
it.
know, I want to do things a little bit, but who's going to teach me to use the computer
Exactly.
that way?
Because you don't want to take the time. This is what we're hearing in our clubs. It's really frightening when I think about these numbers that we're hearing. 10 years ago, we were almost at 10,000 people in Altrusa International. And today, we are at 7,500. That is frightening. We're losing people because we're not changing. And that's the sadness about it all. And so if we don't become more flexible in life, and we've all got to change, we are going to lose who we are. We're becoming a global society, and if we all think that we're still living in Hoboken, New Jersey, or I know I just blew that name. We're going to die on the vine, and that makes me extremely sad because I know what Altrusa International is all about. So what I'm telling you is we have got to open our minds, and instead of thinking of ourselves as that quaint little klitsch of people, that we are a multifaceted community, and we have also got to become that multifaceted society and organization. So let's go, and let's just go with what is culture? What do we think of when we think of culture? By definition, culture is the sum of attitudes, customs, and beliefs that distinguish one group from another. I think that everyone in this room basically meets that cultural definition because we all have that giving heart. I believe that. We have a heart of service. Am I not right? So that is what culture is. But then what is club culture? What club culture really is what we want to talk about. But let's really define what culture is. Give me an example of culture that pulls an organization together. Anybody? Religion is one thing. That's a culture. How about what we're saying? Our language. What else? Values, beliefs.
Goals.
What else? Goals. Exactly. What else? Traditions. How about the way we rear our children? Right? You know, even art is even part of our culture, the way that we look at things. So as a society, we understand that we do live within a culture, but again, we as Altrusans also have our own culture. So let's look into what club culture is. Well, here's an iceberg. Let's look at the iceberg and see what makes up club culture. We kind of have that visible club culture, but then we also have that invisible. And a lot of times it's that visible that those people from the outside truly see of us. They'll see that kind of the way that we work. They see those visions that we have, our service that we have in mind. And they know we're a very well-structured organization. But we also have that invisible culture. When we put all of these things together, we develop a very distinctive personality. My club is probably much different than one of your clubs. We all have our own personalities. And although some people may not make a comfortable fit in one club, they may so in another. Because it's all about personality. We all have that same type of personality. But the good thing or the bad thing is we also develop reputations within our communities. Whether we're very philanthropic or we're very bureaucratic, whether we're very responsible and reliable, or whether we're doing business on the risky side, or even if we're very forward thinking or we're status quo, we all develop our own personalities. And that's what people are seeing when they see you and your club, especially the first time they come and visit you. They're going to look at where you are, not only within the club, but also within the community. So let's see what it's all about. Why does club culture matter? Management theorists have observed that club culture may be an abstraction, but it's a very powerful effect on the way that we as clubs think and behave and are perceived. And whether we're very effective or we're non-effective, it's how the community perceives us. Always be conscious of that. So why is it important? Because first of all, it shapes how your members and the organization as a whole is going to deal with the task, first of all. Secondly, the organization's capacity for and receptiveness to change is very important to who we are and the personality that we show. If we are a progressive, forward-thinking club, I can tell you, more than likely, you're a very flexible club, and you're going to have members wanting to be in your club. If you're sitting back on your haunches and being status quo and you are rigid, people aren't going to look at you as being something they want to be a part of. What is the organization considers to be the right decisions? Are we making the right decisions, not only for our club, but for our communities that we're interacting with? Think about that. What the members consider to be appropriate behavior and how they interact with each other? Do we all have little cliques in our clubs? Probably a little bit. We like some of us better than we like others. That's just the way it is. But how do we get along as a whole? If you've got cliques that are headstrong and not flexible, it's not going to be a well-received club. We have to be flexible. We have to have the personality that people want to be a part of. The attitudes of those outside the organization, how people are looking at us outside the organization is extremely important. We want to be positive so that our organizations outside our club, the Chamber of Commerce, the banks that might want to be a part of a fundraiser we're having, we want to be positive toward it. So the way people look at us is very important to the personality that we as a club reflect. So, what's next? why might cultural changes be necessary? And I think this is very much a forefront consideration at what we're looking at right now. Circumstances change, that's what I said. How many of us came here in our grandma's car? Circumstances change, times change, everything changes. Now, of course, circumstances change might mean that as the club has changed, we used to meet on Mondays at noon, and guess what? Maybe we lost the place that we could have our lunch in. Or maybe more people were missing because they had business dealings on Mondays and so circumstances might change. You might have to change your meeting day or your meeting time, but you've got to be flexible. Club members' expectations change. Maybe when they joined, the club was all about, maybe it was all about literacy. But as times have changed, maybe it's changed more to doing specific service to another organization or project. You've got to always remember to keep these things in mind. The demographics of the organization changes. That happens. All of these things are very important. I think one of the biggest reasons to cultural change is the next one, and that's technology.
Oh, yeah.
That is the biggie, and we all recognize it. Social media is just what it's all about now. And if you don't know how to use a computer, guess what? We need to take lessons. Because we're not going to communicate anymore if we don't know how to use social media. And as our organization grows and ages, less of us are not as computer literate as those who are coming in. And that's how they're communicating. So we have to be able to change. And then ingrained attitudes. We talked about at the beginning. I didn't ever do it that way before. I hate to tell you, that's not going to fly anymore. We have to be welcome to change. I love what Gandhi said. He said, no culture can live if it attempts to be exclusive. If we are not willing to be flexible, we will not exist one day. So, all right, let's go on. What is needed to succeed? What's needed to succeed? First of all, we better have a plan. We've got to decide what we want as a club. Do we want to be inclusive or do we want to be exclusive? Do we want to remain as we are and die on the vine, or do we want to bring in new members and become innovative and become energized and be a positive? That leadership is what it's all about. You've got to insist, not only is your leadership in on change, but your membership better be vested in it as well. Everybody's got to get on board. You know, we're going to have people that are going to be a little naysayer to it all. That's okay. We can bring them around. Honestly, we saw that happen yesterday in this very workshop on virtual clubs. We had people walk in the door, and I know that Sylvia and Ingrid, who presented the program, noted that attitudes came in like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. But once we explained it, what it was all about, we had people coming up. We were flooded with questions, positive questions, because they got it. So what I'm saying is, explain your changes. Tell them, keep them informed. That's the main thing, but you've got to get them vested in your change that you're wanting to propose. Implement a program of ongoing communication. If you don't keep your membership informed of every aspect of that change, they will not become a part of it. So that's why communication is extremely important, and always telling your members what's going on, what changes have been made, or what progress to that change has taken place. And measure it. You know, I don't know how you're going to measure it. You'll figure that out. But measuring and continually looking at what's going on, whether it's positive, a positive change, a negative change, or getting negative feedback, or getting positive feedback. Make sure you're measuring and looking at it, okay? All right, so how do we become diversified and where do we start? This falls a lot on what Norma was talking about. To get a committee chair, get someone that really wants to make a positive change in your club. Work with them, let them get that committee, identify where you are right now, and then decide where you want to end up, okay? You know, it talks about certainly developing that vision. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have a goal, how do you know where you're going, right? You know, for one thing, as my friend in the back said, what in the world did Temple do to get what they did? Let me tell you what. We discovered two things. You gotta have energy, and you better be positive about it. And then you go about looking for those 35 and 40-year-olds, and you know where we found them? In junior league, they age out at 40. These were willing men and women that have service in their heart. They still knew where they wanted to go. And guess what? We nabbed them. We nabbed them. They came in with a service heart, and we utilized them because guess what? They know what social media is all about. Our Facebook exploded. Our web page exploded. We were out there before we knew it. And I hate to tell you, in a matter of about, well, certainly in 12 months, we had 54 new members. So I'm telling you, it's who you want to be and where you want to take that club. You got to get out there and look for it. Define your expected behaviors and responses. You don't want people coming in that are negative. I can tell you that. We don't want that. But we went and found people that had that giving heart, the positive attitude, and they just took our club, and we almost doubled in size in 1 year. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Once you kind of decide where you want to go, start looking for demographics. What is my community made out of? Is it young? Is it old? Is it middle-aged? Is it poor? Is it rich? What is it? Get a demographic of where you are in your community. And then, not only is that going to help you down the road of projects, but it's also going to tell you what kind of people you want in your organization because they're going to be reflective of your club. You know, once you get all your results, and I'm not a statistician. I go with my gut personally, but it's good to have numbers. You know, look at what the numbers show, and certainly then share it with your club and certainly your committee and board. But share it with the club because they're going to want to know why they want club change. Communication is very important. And then once you get that report, celebrate it. Celebrate it and get the club excited because you're going forward. Okay, well, you know, not everything always succeeds, right? Sometimes things do fail. So why do culture change initiatives sometimes fail? If we know what might be, let's fix it before it starts. Competing change initiatives, that's why I'm telling you, have everyone had at least an opportunity to give their input. Don't put a deaf ear to people. They want to know that they've been listened to. Listen to everybody. So that's the first thing. Certainly lack of leadership ownership. If your leaders aren't behind this, and they are your train engine, if they're not behind it, it's not going to be successful. So make sure your leadership is on the same page as you are. So differences of opinion and approach. Again, that comes down to communication. Make sure that everyone has had an opportunity to at least voice their opinion because you want them to know that they can. Unrealistic timelines. Don't say, okay guys, we're going to change in the next 3 months, we're just going to change the whole attitude of our club. Wrong. That is not going to happen. Give it at least 12 months, I can guarantee you. Don't set unrealistic timelines. Failure to consult, engage, and communicate, again, vital. If you don't remember anything else, remember, communicate. And I know I've heard that all throughout the convention. Communication is extremely important. And again, failure to measure your progress. You know, you will see progress, whether it's because you're getting 12 members in a month, or you're getting one member in a month, you know something is either really working or it's not working at all. And then reward those people, reward those committees, whatever. Give acknowledgement where it's due. People want a pat on the back. And it might just be a pat on the back. You know, if you bring a member in, certainly make sure that they know they're as important as that new member is. Because without participation, the club won't go anywhere. All right. So, club cultural change. That's basically what you need to do. But I know I've got 3 other members of the membership committee here. We would like to know how we can help you, if there's any specifics about things that you are having problems with. Maybe we can help you with that right now. But ultimately, as I said, don't go to your club meeting in your grandma's car. Go in that Ferrari or that Jag or whatever is that ultimate car that you want to get there in. But if you are a club leader, and I have a feeling you are because you wouldn't be here if you weren't vested in Altrusa, you have got to go back to your clubs and be energized. Because energy is contagious. That's what they tell me. If you go in and you're excited about it, I can guarantee you that my energy is going to rub off on you. You're tired. Yeah, you don't look tired.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you see me yawning?
No.
I wasn't sure, I assure you. Oh,
But
cold room, warm room.
But it is. Energy is just contagious. And I just ask that you go back and you share this, communicate, do what you want to be, okay? Do what you are, do what you want to be. Because if you don't, it will stay the same, and that's not what will revive Altrusa at this point. So, question.
Well, you said it and then you went on and I totally forgot. Did you say that you got a lot of your members that they aged out from an organization called Junior
League?
Junior League, thank you.
And it's a philanthropic group, much like Altrusa.
Yeah.
It's just they have an age limit where we don't.
Okay.
And I will tell you that my club actually has 3 Astra clubs. And we just brought in our first male Astra member, who had been president and vice president of his Astra Club. He is so excited about being a part of Altrusa because that's what's in his heart. So I'm just telling, in fact, my club is going to Chicago for just a fun weekend. And Tucker's going with us. I'm so excited. So can you imagine 19 women and 1 fellow?
Oh,
We
yeah.
This is my husband, and bless his heart, he is an Altrusan at heart. He has to be. But I keep asking him to join, and I'm not joining the club.
Come on, you gotta change.
When did we have, what year was it that we had almost 10,000 members? And how long has that declined?
It's 10 years. In 2007, it was at a little over 10,000. And I think right now it's at 79,000. I think it was 10,500 in 2007, am I correct? And it is now 7,900 and like 58.
I think that is key to a lot of clubs hearing those numbers.
You're exactly right.
From the leaders in this room, that they go back and say, this is what's happened.
Exactly.
I don't think most of the clubs know this.
I agree.
And
And
understand.
I can tell you that you are going to have an extremely active international membership committee. Because I've told Leanne, and this committee is in total agreement, this organization cannot fail on our watch. And we all cannot do it without everyone in this room, in that hall, And in this world, we can't do it without you. And we want to help you do that because we can't afford it.
This is a little bit going back to the diversity thing.
Yes.
But I've stood next to two different younger women in our group when we open up with our prayer, who under their breath mumble, why do I have to say this every time? It's not a part of their culture.
That is true.
And so I didn't know what the policy was on that. I mean, is it a?
You mean the Altrusa Grace?
Exactly.
Well, it's not required, first of all, but it is tradition, and Altrusa is tradition. Yes.
I am not an American citizen. I am the immediate past president of Dallas. I am the membership chair for District 9. I stand out of respect at every meeting when they pledge allegiance. That's what you tell them. It is a matter of respect to those who
Something I would just be discussing with them one-on-one, saying, I realize you're frustrated, but let me just talk.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
That is
Thank you.
exactly right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because you have to be respectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you know, in fact, as I'm a Christian, and you know, I go to meetings and you say a prayer to Jesus Christ. But I also have Jewish friends that also, and they say, why do we have to pray to this guy Jesus Christ? And that is a true point. So you have to be respectful of all religions, of faith, whatever.
I have a two-part comment, first of all. I want to reiterate what this lady was saying because I don't think everybody heard the end of her conversation. And as a director of a youth fraternity, it's a policy that I practice. When you're inviting someone new, whether it's to visit, to join, to partake in an activity, always encourage them to bring someone else with them. Because with my kids in the youth fraternity, I tell them, the moms, hey, I understand Lisa wants to come, but she doesn't want to come by herself. She doesn't know everybody. Tell her bring a cousin, bring a classmate, bring a friend. That way you potentially end up with 2 members.
Excellent. That is excellent.
The other thing to speak on you, because I have a youth fraternity and because my kids are involved in everything that I do, unfortunately, we have a generation of children that feel entitled. And because of that, I know, old school, you don't want to hear it. We do have to bend a little bit. What you want to say to them is, look, guys, away from the older, more seasoned members, I know y'all really aren't into this. I know you don't want to. I'm asking you to be patient because if you show respect, we can hear the ideas that you have, and we need you here because we need the change. We need the diversity. We want you to help better us. Just tolerate us a little bit.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. I have a question here.
Yeah, that's kind of related to this seminar workshop. But I'm from a big city, San Diego.
Stand up.
We can't hear
They
you.
can't hear you.
My ears are a little plugged up too. I'm from San Diego. We're a large city, over 2 million. So to focus on a community, it's like 2.5 million people. So how do the big cities figure out, and we do a lot of hands-on stuff, it's quite amazing with our little group how much we do. But how do you find out areas in your community to really focus on and to get them to know you and you to know them? Everything's about in your community. Our community is 2.5 million people. So how do you actually? Our club is shrinking.
Well, I think you do it basically through projects and connections through projects. I know that I'm from a community of about 70,000 people, and certainly compared to a 2.2 million city, I mean, we're nothing. But we have found that, you still have communities within communities, and we all find that niche of where we are comfortable working in. And so I think it's through one project will lead to the next project, and that project will also lead to new potential members. And to me, it's basically all through projects, certainly starting within your own very tight-knit little community. Now, when you say club, now, are you a club of all of San Diego?
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, we have one club.
But do you all live relatively close to one
No,
another?
no, we're in a county. I mean, really, it's San Diego County.
Okay.
That's how large. And Helen.
We're in Chula Vista, where we're south of San Diego, we have 250,000. And then we have another club up the coast in San Diego County, when they've got like 14 or 15. So we're spread out pretty far, and I don't know if there's things we could do together, you know, to bring, I mean, whether it's, you know, to get our clubs together and do some, I don't know what it could be, we'll have great minds think alike, we'll figure out something.
You also could partner with another civic organization.
You know, I have had that in my head. I'm
Yes.
becoming president again. And that has been on my mind a long time, is to find another group similar, service-oriented.
Well, I know, for instance, the city of Austin, I know that, and it was an extremely small club. I mean, it got down to 3 or 4. But they were still doing things within the city. They worked with the library system, which allowed their area, their large area, to meet their membership needs. Because even though one member was in South Austin and one was in North Austin, they still had a connection through a city type of project.
What about maybe Jack or Jillian could say something about, you know, Dallas-Fort Worth area, I don't remember how much our population is, but how many clubs do we have in Dallas and Fort Worth?
Somebody told me like 23.
I heard 22 now.
Well,
we have about 5 million people in the Dallas.
In the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So,
So one of the things that you've got to look back, and I know we're talking about moving forward, but sometimes to move forward you have to understand your past. The Dallas Club currently has something like 33 members. But look at all the clubs we have formed. Downtown Dallas, Richardson, Garland, there's loads. There's some that we were not classed as the parent club, but we're the grandparent club. And part of that is going almost back to what we had the discussions of yesterday. We talked in some part about these big clubs, and I get that not everybody wants to be a leader. Some people like just to have the servant heart and to do the project. But you know, if you feel that you're not being represented, there's your option. You know, have a lunchtime club. I know I've been talking with Nina about this. Some people can't go at lunchtime. You become 2 clubs. You have an evening club. You've got new representation. But it's also to do with what you're saying. Find something to partner with. We had a discussion just this morning. We haven't confirmed it yet, but find something that enthuses those people. If you're enthused and you're saying to your friend, your neighbor, somebody you meet in the grocery store, that elevator speech, what are you doing today? Oh, I'm on my way to.
Yeah.
and the another answer is, have you thought about another club, a new club?
A new club.
Yeah, at a different time and a different day.
Yeah.
I will say it is 3:30, and I know we're supposed to be back in session at 3:45. If you've got questions, did the sheet go around? Do we have the sheet? Y'all have all our information.